You know what matters more than our 2-2 draw against Arsenal? It's the fact that this was the second game in a row where Arne Slot might have given us a glimpse of how he wants us to play in the future. And honestly, if we manage to get it right, it's looking like it could be something really exciting. But before we dive deeper into that, let's take a moment to talk about something else. How good was it seeing the Arsenal players giving us a guard of honour at Anfield, especially considering some of their fans were talking about lifting the Premier League trophy there at the start of the season. Now that would have been a sight. Of course, it would have been even sweeter if we'd actually beaten them. And after that first half, it really felt like we were on course to do just that. But unfortunately, we took our foot off the gas and the Gunners came back with 2 goals to level the game. Still, even though the draw was a bit of a letdown, the result doesn't really matter anymore. We've already wrapped up the league title. What matters now is how we're playing. And, by the looks of it, Arne Slot is starting to test out some new ideas. So, if you're curious about what Slot might be cooking up for next season, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let's get into it. As always, let's kick things off by looking at the starting 11 that Arne Slot went with. Alisson kept his place in goal with a backline of Andrew Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, and Connor Bradley. Now here's something interesting. Was leaving Trent out Slot's way of sending a message, maybe even denying him a guard of honour? Or was it more about protecting him from the fans, considering the boos we all heard echoing around Anfield when he was on the pitch? Either way, it definitely raised a few eyebrows. Moving into midfield, we had Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai, and Curtis Jones holding things down. And up front it was Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, and of course Mo Salah leading the line. Now, we've already mentioned that Slot might be giving us hints about what he's planning for next season, and this was actually the second match in a row where he's tested out these ideas. So let's take a closer look at what exactly he's been trying to do. Last week against Chelsea, we saw something a bit different from Curtis Jones. He was dropping deeper than usual, almost slipping into the back line when we had the ball. From there, he tried to dictate the tempo and help move the ball around more effectively. By doing that, he was giving us an extra passing option while also pulling his markers out of position, opening up space for his teammates to exploit and even helping to overload Chelsea's pressing structure. It was a clever move and one that seemed very intentional. Against Arsenal, who are arguably one of the best pressing teams in the league, if not the world, we saw Arne Slot take a bold approach early on. Instead of panicking under pressure, we actually tried to play through it with patience. You can see how Alisson was used as a +1 in the build-up, with Van Dijk and Konate splitting wide on either side of him. This setup helped stretch Arsenal's press by increasing the distance their forwards had to cover, while also giving us a numerical advantage by using the keeper as an extra passing option. At the same time, notice how deep both Gravenberch and Jones were at the start of this sequence. That wasn't by accident. Their positioning helped create an even bigger overload in the first phase of build-up. At one point, we had 7 players against 5 in our own defensive third. That's exactly the kind of setup you need to beat a high-intensity press like Arsenal's. But that's not all. Both Gravenberch and Jones were way more dynamic than usual, constantly shifting inside, drifting out wide, and moving side to side. It was all about creating space, not just for themselves, but also for their teammates by dragging markers out of position. At one point, you can actually see Jones drop back to his original spot after pulling his defender away, giving Van Dijk more room to step into. Then, without missing a beat, Jones attacked a different pocket of space that he'd just created. Using his press resistance, he managed to hold off the pressure and find Gravenberch, who was also constantly on the move, always looking for the next angle. From there, it all came together. Gravenberch spotted Robertson out wide, and just like that, we had our outball to break through Arsenal's press. A few minutes later, we saw a very similar sequence. This time it actually led to our first real chance of the game, the one that ended with Raya saving Diaz's shot. So let's walk you through it. Once again, we used Alisson as a +1 in the build-up, with both of our pivot players dropping deep to offer support. Jones then drifted wide into space, creating an overload on that side. At the same time, we saw something that's become a bit of a pattern under Arne Slot this season. Szoboszlai and Diaz both dropping into those central pockets as double 10s. That move pulled their markers out of shape and opened up space in behind the lines. From there, we managed to work it back to Jones, who pulled off a lovely switch of play to find Salah in space on the opposite flank. Unfortunately, Diaz couldn't quite make the most of the chance, but it was a really promising move that showed how well we were handling Arsenal's press. Now, while this approach did help us bypass Arsenal's press at times, it also showed why Arne Slot hasn't been using it consistently throughout the season. And the reason is pretty clear. She current squad might not yet be fully suited to play this style at the highest level every single time. Take this one sequence for example. Gravenberch was essentially acting like a centre-back, while Curtis Jones quickly dropped into the backline to support. As expected, Alisson was once again playing that +1 role in the build-up. The issue came when Jones received the ball. Instead of moving it on quickly, he relied on his press resistance and tried to dribble out of pressure, something he's naturally good at, but not always the safest option in this setup. To be fair, it's not really his fault. He's not used to operating in this type of system yet, and that's why he ended up losing possession. But it wasn't just on him. There was another breakdown in the structure. Van Dijk pushed up and dragged Saka with him, which was a smart move to create space. But Robertson was slow to react and didn't drop deeper to open up a passing lane for Jones. That lack of movement meant Jones had no clean outlet, and all of it combined led to a turnover in a very dangerous area, one that could have easily led to Arsenal scoring the opener. And that right there is why smart recruitment this summer is going to be absolutely key. If we really want to make this more patient, under pressure build-up style work, then we need to bring in more technical players. Guys who are not just comfortable on the ball, but also positionally sharp and able to spot passing options in a split second. On top of that, we need players who are dynamic, constantly moving, creating angles, and dragging defenders out of position to open up lanes. Now, back to the game. Our first goal actually came from a moment that looked more like what we saw from the team last season. We picked the right moment to go long, something we've done well before, and hit a direct pass toward a runner, in this case, Gakpo. We went from a deep build-up situation to suddenly threatening inside Arsenal's box. Gakpo might have missed the first chance, but just moments later, we played it back to him for the finish to open the scoring. The second goal came not long after, and again, it followed a pattern we've seen before. We switched the ball out wide to Salah, and then relied on his often underrated creativity to pick out Szoboszlai, making one of those well-timed runs into the half space. It's a combination that's been absolutely devastating for us throughout the season, and once again, it delivered when we needed it. Unfortunately, it felt like the players thought the job was done by the time the halftime whistle blew. And in the second half, Arteta and his men took full advantage, managing to pull back 2 goals that honestly felt completely avoidable. So yeah, while the result might have been a bit disappointing, there's still a lot to be excited about. Arne Slot is clearly starting to experiment with ideas that could shape how we play next season, and honestly there's a lot of potential there. Sure, it's not perfect yet, we've seen moments where the players struggled with the new style, but that's expected. This isn't going to click overnight. What matters is that we're seeing signs of something different, something that, if built properly, could take us to another level. Now, the key is smart recruitment in the summer. We need players who fit this style, who are calm on the ball, press resistant, and have the awareness to move and create space for others. If we get that right, next season could be really exciting. Now, let's hear from you. What did you think of the performance? Do you like the direction Arne Slot is taking us in? And which areas do you think we need to strengthen most this summer? Anyway, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button. Until next time.